At the very end of 2022, a major retirement law passed that's really going to change how we think about saving for your future. Today, we're going to talk about Secure Act 2.0 and what it means for your finances. Before we get started, I want to remind you that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not personalized advice. But this is a big bill. There's a lot of changes in it, and chances are some of it's going to affect everyone one way or another. Look, unless you're a tax advisor, a retirement planner, or something like that, you're not paying super close attention to even your own retirement plan, let alone changes to the law that are going to take effect over the next couple of years. But some of the things in this bill are going to change the rules around stuff you might be doing already. It affects how your employer treats savings plans. It affects your banking. It affects your taxes. So there's lots of things that this bill does that will open up opportunities for you to save in a smarter way and maybe think a little farther ahead to your future. A primary goal of the Secure 2.0 Act is to help people save more for retirement earlier in life. And there are a handful of ways to do this, but the basic idea is that, as we've talked about in previous videos, the more you save earlier, the better off you're going to be in retirement. If you save some money in your 20s, it's going to be worth more when you're in your 60s than it would be if you only put it away in your 30s or 40s. It has more time to grow, and that gives you more options when you retire. So there are a lot of ways to do this, as I said, but generally speaking, they do this through taxes and encouraging employers to contribute more to retirement plans. So one of the big things we're going to look at here is something called automatic enrollment. Essentially, a lot of employer-sponsored retirement plans, such as 401ks, are opt-in. So say you forget to enroll, or you're not too sure what you want to do, and you just don't get around to it. Well, all that time you're thinking about it, deciding not to, waiting for the right time, you're not saving and your money's not growing. This bill changes that to make these plans generally opt out. So that means you would have to decline to participate, actively decline, or else you'd be enrolled and you'd save somewhere around 3% at first, and then it would grow over time. So that allows you to sort of start growing kind of passively. Now, of course, you can opt out if you don't think it's right for you to save, but generally speaking, it really helps to save earlier if you do think you want to save for retirement, and most people do. Here's an example. Under the bill, the initial automatic enrollment is 3% of your salary. So say you're 25, make about $60,000 a year, and you have no retirement savings. You have 3% of your salary you're putting away. That's $150. By the time you retire, that could be worth about $420,000. Now, by no means is that enough to retire without working at all, at least not under the current economic circumstances, but it's better than you would have if you did nothing. And if your employer matched that 3%, as a lot of employers do, that could rise to $830,000. This is really going to increase even more because the automatic contribution increases by 1% per year under the bill, up to 15%. So this could really start people getting on track either early in their life or later on. That example assumes you'd be retiring at age 67. But the longer you save, the longer you delay your retirement, the more your money can grow. And especially if you're trying to catch up, that's something that might advantage you. Now, another thing about Secure 2.0 is that it allows people to save longer without having to draw on these accounts. So a lot of tax advantaged accounts like 401ks, things like that, have required minimum distributions at a certain age. You have to start taking money out. You can't keep it forever. But over the past couple of years in previous legislation, the government has begun moving that age upward. So it's gone from 70 to 72, and now under Secure 2.0, it may go as high as 75 for certain people. And that gives you a lot more time, 8 extra years to grow your retirement savings, and presumably less time that you need to support yourself on your retirement savings because no one lives forever. We should also talk about Secure 2.0 and how it affects student loan debt. So if you're having trouble paying for retirement contributions and attacking your student loan debt, you may be putting off saving that you really wish you could be doing. This bill gives a little bit of flexibility to employers who want to help their workers start to save for retirement even as they're paying off student loan debt. What it allows is for you to show your employer your student loan payoff information, and they can match that within your retirement account. So say whatever you spent on paying off student loan debt over the course of a year, your employer could contribute that into a retirement account. So at least you're saving something. It may not be as much as you wish, but it's a lot better than zero. Here's another college savings item, and this one's relevant not just to people who are saving for their own college, but people who are saving for their kids' college. So if you're a parent trying to figure out what you want to do with your kids' college savings, maybe you're wondering if they will go to college or whether college will be the same in 20 years as it is today. You're probably thinking about what's going to happen to that money if it doesn't get used in the way you expect it to. This is what happens with Secure 2.0. it gives you another option of what to do with that money, and that is allowing you to roll up to $35,000 in an account that's at least 15 years old into a Roth IRA. So a Roth IRA is another kind of tax advantage savings account for retirement, and it gives you the option of kind of thinking about your early life to thinking about your late life. So you've got that money that you put aside for what you were going to do maybe after high school or wherever, and you move that money toward the needs you're going to have when you get older. Now let's talk about emergency savings. Emergency savings are another barrier to retirement preparation because no matter who you are, you only have a limited amount of extra cash, right? And you have to decide the best way to apply that cash to your current situation. Now, obviously we want to be safe and taken care of when we're older, but we also want to make sure that if something bad happens to us now, we have enough money and put away to take care of it. That's why a healthy emergency fund is a great part of financial planning. So something you should think about doing with a Secure 2.0 is it allows you to take some small amount of money out of your account without penalty, about $1,000 per year. You take it out of a 401k or an IRA to cover an emergency that qualifies. That might give you a little more peace of mind if you have to put some money into retirement and you're deciding not to put it away for more immediate needs that might emerge. $1,000 might not sound like a ton to deal with an emergency. It's something, but there are some other options available under Secure 2.0. So one thing it allows is for employers to set up a special emergency fund, part of your retirement plan. So it's essentially attached to your 401k, your Roth 401k, something like that, your employer-sponsored account. It gives you the option of putting up to $2,500 per year aside to deal with emergency expenses. So that's another piece that you can kind of say to yourself, okay, I'm saving for retirement and I'm saving for emergencies at the same time instead of doing one or the other. Now let's talk about incentives to save. Under current law, interestingly, it's not allowed for employers to give incentives like short-term incentives such as gift cards, for instance, to employees for saving for retirement. So you can't give someone something as a reward for putting money into a retirement program that's employer-sponsored. Of course, there's always been a long-term incentive that's allowed. It's called an employer match, right? If I give $1,000 to my retirement, they give $1,000 too. And usually there's a limit on that, but you can get a pretty good chunk of change from an employer that has a match just for saving. But of course, the benefits of money that go into your retirement account, if you're saving earlier in life, you're not going to see those for quite some time. So it's worth thinking about the effect that a sort of shorter term, even if it's not that big, incentive might have. Put some money in, you get a gift card. That's the example that we saw in documents provided by the legislators that made the bill, but again, it may just be the little thing that it takes to get someone off the fence. Another section of the Secure 2.0 Act increases the participation of part-time workers in employer-sponsored retirement plans. So if you're a part-time worker now, after this bill has passed, you will be required to be included, if you want to be, in employer plans after you've served 2 years, working about 500 hours per year. Previously, the law has required employers to include part-time workers in plans under certain circumstances, but the requirements were kind of split based on how much you work. So if you work 1 year at 1,000 hours, then you're supposed to be eligible for an employer-sponsored plan after 1 year. Now, if you work over 500 hours, but less than 1,000, it could take up to 3 years. Now the law changes so that it's just 2 years of 500-hour service and still 1 year of 1,000-hour service. So that could be another year sooner that part-time employees who are working less than 1,000 hours are able to start saving for retirement under an employer-sponsored plan. Another interesting aspect of the Secure 2.0 Act is how it treats what's called the Savers Tax Credit. Now, essentially, this is a credit for people who are on the lower end of the economic spectrum, and it gives you some compensation, some tax compensation for saving money in your retirement account. Now, this does something that might be hard for people to grasp. It turns this tax credit into basically a match. So now the federal government will match your contributions in your retirement account as opposed to giving you an immediate tax break. Now, you might want that immediate tax break. You might not love this. But over time, if the economy performs as it has previously, that money will grow and that tax credit will be worth more to you over time. Ultimately, retirement planning and tax planning are deeply linked. Most kinds of retirement accounts, their fundamental characteristics have to do with the tax advantages they offer. For instance, a 401k or an IRA, you're not paying taxes when you put the money in, you pay taxes when you take it out in retirement. If you use a Roth plan, for instance, you'll put after-tax income in there and you will not pay taxes when you take it out, generally speaking. These things are true before Secure 2.0 and they will be true after. The question really is who gets to participate, what is going to be available to convince them to participate, and when will they participate? Speaking generally again, the sooner you start to save, the more opportunities you have for your money to grow. So if you're not saving and you like the sound of some of these provisions, it's not a terrible idea to start making changes right away. One caveat though is that these provisions generally are rolling into law somewhere between now and 2024 or perhaps even later. So you may not see all of these benefits right away, and perhaps you want to take that into account. This is supposed to be a high-level overview of what's in this bill and how the government's thinking around retirement planning has shifted as a part of this legislation. So you probably should talk to a tax advisor or a financial advisor about your specific plan. But again, very, very high level. The more time you give your money to grow, the more opportunities you have to have a comfortable retirement. I'm Andy Rosen, an investing and taxes writer for NerdWallet. If you want to learn more, please check out some of our other content, including a video we made that can help you figure out whether you're on track for retirement. If you learned something from this video, please like and subscribe.